Welcome back. In today's video, we're going to take a look at a game of mine played in the Hastings Masters tournament last year. This was one of my most memorable tournaments, as it was here that I made my second international master norm. My opponent in this game is Romain Edouard, a Grandmaster and one of the top French chess players. He has achieved a peak rating of 2702, which would make him a Super-Grandmaster. Even though his rating has fallen slightly in the past few years, he remains a force to be reckoned with, and is a dangerous opponent for anyone. In this game, my opponent opened with the move c4, and after some well-known theoretical moves, we reached a very topical position of the Maroczy, which has been known for a long time. This is a well-known line where white goes for a queen trade, leading to a complex ending after the move f5. Takes h3, rook f8, f4, and now a key move, rook a d8. Preparing to break in the center with d6, d5. Here my opponent surprised me with the move knight b6. I carried out my main idea with d5. And here I was expecting the move c takes d5, after which I prepared the move knight f6, preparing to take back on d5, and after bishop c4, I would take back with the bishop, and go for the move b5, with a playable position for both sides. However, my opponent surprised me again with the move g takes f5. At first I thought he might have blundered a piece, but after d4, he prepared the move bishop f2. And the idea is that after knight takes b6, he can now take my bishop, and he saves the piece. But here I can take rook takes f5, and the pawn on f4 is quite weak. So knight takes d7, white defended the pawn with bishop g3, and I renewed the attack on it. Rook g1, king h8. Bishop g4, and now I won the pawn. Now here my opponent played very well. He first put his bishop on h4, attacking the pawn on e7. And it's a bit awkward to defend it, because if I play a move like rook f7, it could run into something like bishop h5. So I took on g4, which seems logical, and played rook d8. Now here, I'm pawn up, but it's not so easy to get my pawns going, as the white pieces are very active. Furthermore, my king is stuck in the corner and could run into some nasty tactics if I'm not careful. So here my opponent played rook hg1. He looked at me and said, I offer a draw. So being a pawn up, I decided not to accept his offer. After the game, my opponent looked up at me and said, I offered you a draw, hoping that you would get excited and make a blunder. What a cheeky guy. His idea, of course, is that the most natural move is to play the move e7 to e5. But this would be a huge blunder, giving white an immediate win. Can you see how white wins here? White plays the move rook g8 check. The idea is that after rook takes g8, white now has bishop f6 check. So the only way for black to play is to block the check. But now white continues bishop takes g7 check, king g8, and bishop takes e5 check. Discovered check from the rook, and now white wins the bishop on f4 and wins the game. Luckily for me, I was in very good form throughout this tournament, and I noticed the dangers in my position. So I decided to trade off his bishop. And so he has no more tricks. However, here my opponent defended very well. After e5, he immediately blocked the pawns with rook e4. Rook f1, king d2. And although white is a pawn down, it's really hard for us to get any sort of activity. And with a king cut on h8, it's going to be very difficult to win. White also has a threat of rook ge2, when he would then be threatening not only to take on e5, but also to take the pawn on d4. So after rook a1, king d3, rook h1, h4, I found the only chance, b5. So I'm trying to open lines on the queen side. For instance, if white plays cb5, ab5, and rook e2, I could play with like rook a8 and come in on a2. However, my opponent again found the best defense. He now played the move c5, giving up the c pawn. After rook c3, rook g5. And the idea is that after rook takes c5, rook takes d4, there's now a pin on the 5th rank. So if we take the rook, he'll take our rook. And with his king still active, it's hard to imagine that he can lose this. Having thought for over 30 minutes in this position, I played rook c6, and after rook d7, having thought for over 30 minutes, I decided that there was no real way to play for a win. The white pieces are simply too active. So I played the move rook c6, and after rook d7, rook h6, h5, I agreed to draw after rook hg6, rook gg7, and a repetition. So, what can we learn from this game? Well, grandmasters are tricky creatures, and when they offer you a draw, it does not mean that the position is equal and that they want to go home. Often, it could be something completely different. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye for now.